Hello everyone, my name is Amber. Welcome to my channel, Amber Reads Romance. I am here with my weekly wrap-up. I'm going to go over all the books that I read from the 17th through the 23rd. I have about 9 books to talk about, plus one that I forgot to talk about last week. So I'll quickly go over that real quickly. But let's go ahead and dive into my weekly reads. Okay guys, so I'm going to bring up first the book that I forgot to go over, which it's actually a fic. So coming off the fanfic readathon, I had such a great time with that. I had so many good reads for the fics. I did post a vlog last week, so if you want to check out like all my detailed thoughts and feelings on all the fics that I read, it's kind of like almost an hour long, so because it did cover the full 2 weeks. So I'll try to remember to put that up in the cards here, so make sure you go check out my fanfic vlog. But I did have a fanfic that I forgot to bring up in my last week's reads, or my wrap up, sorry. So I'm just going to bring that up real quickly. And that was A Dress with Pockets, and this is by Pacificrimbaud. And I read one from them last fanfic readathon too, and it was like a pansy Percy. Oh my god. It was a pansy one, but I think she was like with Fred or George or one of the Weasleys. But this one was a really cute, I don't know, I loved it so much. And this is a Pansy Neville pairing, and I really loved it. So I realized that I love Pansy. I love reading her in fanfic because she's kind of like a black cat, you know, darker, bad bitch type of vibes. And then she's like, you know, it's later on, you know, they're all in their careers, you know, Voldemort had been defeated and all that kind of stuff. And she is a fashion designer and she's basically feeling it. She needs to get laid. And she's out one night and she happens to run into Neville at this bar, and she can't believe it because she hasn't seen Neville since school, and he's really grown into himself. He's doing well with his job and he travels all over the world. And so she's feeling it. So she basically tells him to like invite me up to your room, and they end up going up to his room and having a one-night stand, but she has a fantastic time. She realizes that Neville is really packing, and he's pretty, you know, big down there, and she's loving it. She's like, who knew Neville was packing so much heat? And so they end up kind of just having this one night stand, but they can't stop thinking about each other. So they kind of have these like meetups every few months, and it goes on for like a couple years where she's really falling for him, he's falling for her, but she's very, you know, that bad bitch vibes. That's hard to be vulnerable. So she has a hard time putting herself out there. But they're both falling for each other, and then, you know, obviously they get together in the end, and it is so cute. Like, I really loved this. It was a very interesting pairing with Pansy and Neville, who are so, like, opposites. So it was a fantastic time. So I would highly recommend it, and it's a pretty quick one that you could read. You know, I read it in one sitting. I loved it. So highly recommend that. So now on to the reads that I had this week. I listened to an ALC, and this was December Midnights by Victoria Wilder. This was a really quick audiobook because it is a novella. I think it was released last year. The audiobook, I believe, is coming out on the 26th, I think I have that date right. But this is between Gray and Aurora, and this was kind of cute because it was set in this, like, I think Maine, like kind of small town, and she had like an adopted mother that kind of took her in, and they run this inn that's like at this lighthouse, and it's like really cute, small town vibes. And we have Gray, and him and his brother are basically going to be new business owners, partnership in this inn now. He was an ex-pro baseball player, but he had a bad injury, so he's not really able to play anymore, and he's kind of in an off place. He had some like drama with like, I think somebody he dated in the past, and so he's just kind of wants to get away from that all. And so he shows up, and this kind of had some like winter solstice, like fated mate, soulmate type of vibes in it, because like she has been told that December, and like this is her year that she's supposed to meet her like fated mate, her soulmate. And so she immediately has a hot interaction with Gray and thinks, well, this could be him, but he's not like fully available. So she's like kind of nervous to put it all on him and then him not be her soulmate or something. So it is super short. So this is like really like insta-lust type of thing, but that's kind of what you're going to get with a super short novella. So I didn't mind it. It had duet narration by Tor Tom, who I love, and Savannah Peachwood. So the audiobook was really well done. So I ended up giving this one 4 stars and 3 chilies. Okay, so then I read A Class Apart by Susie Murphy. This is the first book in the Matter of Class series. I read this because of Jen from the Book Refuge and Crystal from Crystal's Bookish Life. They do have their book club they do. And so this was Crystal's pick. I think she picked it because it was a free book that she got from like one of the Stuff Your Kindle days. And I realized I did too when I found it already on my Kindle. So I ended up reading this one. Now, I got to warn you that this is not a standalone. This is part of a series, and I believe the first 3 books are on this couple. So I kind of went in knowing that, luckily, but I didn't know it was going to have such a heartbreaking cliffhanger. So if you're not interested in that, this may not be the book for you. I kind of struggled with this. This is between Cormac and Bridget, and it's like set in Ireland, and she has just returned home. They used to be childhood friends when she grew up there. They're different classes though, obviously. And she went to Dublin. So I think it's been like 6-7 years, and now she's returned home. She is engaged. So she's home with her mother and setting up there, and she runs into Cormac, and he is actually like the stable hand. And she really wants to like reignite their friendship, but he's like, that's not appropriate. We can't really talk and be close anymore because of, who I am and who you are. So that's kind of a hard adjustment for her. And then she's just kind of preparing for her fiance to come home. And so it's really slow in the beginning. Like it really dragged for me. I had a hard time getting into it. The writing was good. I just was having a hard time. The last half really picked up for me, and I started to finally get invested in the characters, but Cormac goes through so much trauma in this book, and it was just upsetting to me. I am going to give you a trigger warning that is going to maybe spoil something that happens in this book, but I think it's important that you know, because I had no idea this was going to be in this. I don't know if they did trigger warnings when this book was released, and there definitely wasn't any. And so I think it's good to know, because I did not expect this in a historical romance that I was reading. So there is a trigger warning for suicide, and it's pretty traumatic. It was devastating for Cormac and for everybody, the family and everything. So it was very sad. So I'm not going to go into everything, but that was a big traumatic thing that just kind of pissed me off, because I wasn't expecting it. And I was just like, how much trauma and shit are you going to put our hero through? And then I did think our heroine was a little naive and which is fine. She was sheltered and stuff, but some of her choices kind of pissed me off. And, she's engaged this entire time. So it takes forever for anything to even happen with them. And then we have a devastating cliffhanger that I don't know. I don't know if I want to continue because it pissed me off at the end. But I might give the second book a chance to see if it gets any better. But I don't know. I'm not positive. So I ended up giving this one 3.5 stars, and it didn't really have any chilies, maybe 1.5 chilies, because they do, get together, but it's not like super hot or anything. So I don't know. We'll see. Okay, so then I had another ALC, and this was Merry Kissmas by Piper Rayne. This one was really fun. This is between Pierce and Bryn, and they actually had a one-night stand. I think it was like 6 years ago. And it was kind of when she was studying abroad in London and she hooked up with him one night. but then she ends up in class and sees him, and he's the TA, so he knows he can't be involved with any students. So he basically kind of ghosts her and cuts it off with her. And she was pretty devastated by that. So, you know, and he felt really bad. He was super into her. They've had this really good connection. But so now it's 6 years later, and they end up running into each other at this job interview. They're both up for the same job. And then to make matters more interesting, they're actually going to be forced to vacation for the holidays together, because this is a, you know, Christmas holiday book here. And so they are going to be vacationing. I think they were like their friend groups, you know, where like he was friends and brought in. And so they actually didn't have enough room. So then they end up sharing the same place too. So it's kind of a forced proximity thing. And I loved her family. So it was like all her family and friends and stuff. And they did these like holiday kind of competitions, and they were all very competitive. And so she kind of teams up with him on a bunch of their stuff. And so they get closer, and then with staying together, they finally like talk everything out and their feelings. And so things heat up. And so it was just super cute, super sweet little holiday novella. So I ended up giving that one 4 stars and 3 chilies. And it was duet narration with Shane East with his beautiful British accent. Is just love it. And Stella Hunter. So the audiobooks, I've seen that Piper Rayne does a lot like duet narration, which is my favorite. And I've loved all their audiobooks. The performances are always really good. So I had a good time with that one. Then I read another arc, and this was a quick novella. It's a spicy holiday novella. So I usually don't read this much holiday stuff. I'm really not the big Christmas kind of reader, but I've been getting lots of arcs and ALCs of holiday romances. So I've actually been enjoying it this year. So maybe I'll put out like a holiday rec video later from all the books that I've been reading lately. So anyways, this is Gifted to His Dad by Jay Wilder. And that is exactly what it is. This is a really fun taboo little novella. It is an MFM, and it's with a stepdad. So in this, we have Eve, and her boyfriend Cole are going out to like his vacation home, and his stepdad is also going to be there. So they show up, and his stepdad wasn't supposed to be there yet. So they start getting like hooking up, and his dad walks in, and she's like totally humiliated. But like slowly you get to see from Cole's perspective that he's really close with his stepdad. His stepdad did not raise him. The mom kind of abandoned both of them. So like they're really close, and they're close friends. Like they're more of like a friendship than like a father-son type of thing. So it's not super creepy like that. But they've been like both wanting to like share someone and be in a relationship together and share somebody. So he thinks that Eve is perfect for that, and he wants to kind of warm her up into being shared with his stepdad. So Eve is like kind of like a curvy heroine, and she had like kind of a pretty low self-esteem. So that was kind of tough to read, but it was relatable. And she didn't really think, she always thought he was like too good for her. And his stepdad Griffin is super hot and swoon-worthy. And so she feels really guilty that she's super attracted to him. But of course, they're all gonna it's gonna get hot. Their sharing scenes were very spicy in this. So this is one of the spiciest Christmas type of novellas I've read. So we have DP, DVP. There's sharing, there's, you know, voyeurism, all this kind of stuff. So it was fun. I had a good time with it. So I gave this one 4 stars and 4 chilies. Okay, so then I had another ALC, and this was From Air by Julie Ann. I think I've only read 1 or 2 books by Julie Ann, maybe 1. So I wanted to try and read some more. And this was the first book in the Wildfire series. And it's set with like this group of firefighters. So this one is between Calvin, Fitz, they call him Fitz, and Jamie. And Jamie is a traveling, I think, psychiatric nurse. And she ends up getting like this kind of like home share thing where she's roomed with him and like a couple other firefighters. And so kind of the rule in the house is you can't date your roommate and none of them can get romantically involved. But she has like this kind of antagonistic relationship. She just likes pushing Fitz's buttons. He's very grumpy. This is a grumpy sunshine. And he has like some trauma in his past that he's like kind of closed off. He doesn't really date because he's like one of those ones that like jump off out of planes and stuff to go to fire. So his job is very dangerous. And so he's just really shut off. So him and her have a lot of banter, like she's really into him, and so they end up kind of getting involved. And so it's kind of secret because they're not supposed to be hooking up. So this one was okay. I had some major issues with it, and honestly, like I can't even remember the trauma from his past, who died or what, because I was like so kind of like whatever about this. But I felt like there wasn't really that much of a connection with them, but there was like very insta love. She was literally calling him my person, like immediately when he was still like closed off to her and kind of pushing her away. She's like, "You're my person." And it just rubbed me the wrong way. And she ends up leaving because she has to go to like her next job. And so like they're kind of apart for a lot of like the last half of this book. And we find out about his trauma and like how I think he lost his family members in like a fire. I can't remember what the trauma, like seriously, I'm really bad. I kind of like just breezed through this book and wasn't that invested in this couple. But what bugged me, and this is kind of a spoiler, I'm not going to give it all away, but this hints at it, is like his trauma and what happened to him is connected to like her family, and we just randomly find out about it near like the last, third of the book, and it was just a little unbelievable for me. I felt like also Julianne was just kind of throwing trauma and trauma and trauma on top of this to add angst and conflict, and I just didn't really think it needed it. I didn't really buy into their relationship or their connection, and so I just didn't really love this. So this was an ALC, so I ended up giving it 3.5 stars and 3 chilies. This was narrated by Nelson Hobbs and Ada Sinclair. So this was kind of a miss for me, and I felt kind of bad, but I don't know. I was just bored by it, and it was just okay. Okay, so on to the next one. I read God of Wrath by Rina Kent. I'm doing my vlog. I still haven't put my vlog up from the last 2 that I read, so I'm hoping I'm going to try and put that up later this week because I'm so behind. But this is Jeremy Volkov and Cecily's romance, and this one was tough for me. It's funny because this one is annotated by Jen, and she didn't really like Jeremy, so she gets sassy in this, which I appreciated because I was frustrated with Jeremy a lot of it, so just reading her annotations was funny. So this is Jeremy and Cecily ends up sneaking into his, club's initiation. They wear masks and stuff, and they kind of just chase them down and beat people to like, and if they win to the end, they can kind of join their club or whatever. Anyways, she is there only because of Landon, and Landon is a rival. He goes to the other school, like more of the British school, and she's had a crush on him for many years, but he's basically friend-zoned her and is not interested in her. He's basically using her in this. I don't really love Landon. And he wants her to go there so she can spy on their location, check out the cameras, get the lay of the land. So she does go to this, but she ends up getting caught and chased down by Jeremy. And they have a pretty hot interaction, and she gets away. But he knew it was her. And so that kind of puts her in his eye a little bit. And he wants to know why she was there and kind of is threatening her. And then it starts this whole dynamic between them because she is actually into primal play, but mostly CNC, consensual non-consent. And so they kind of come into this kind of dynamic together. But he's pretty awful. He's pretty ruthless. I mean, he is going to be one of the heirs to the Empire. His father is Adrian Volkov, which I didn't like his father's series either. I loved Jeremy in that trilogy, but I just didn't love him in this, which bummed me out. So the reason that it was hard was some of the stuff Jeremy did was so over the top and excessive. And Cecily, like, annoyed me. Like, her choices, her crush on Landon, like, she had previously been assaulted, not sex, all the way sex, but she was drugged. And so she has a lot of trauma, and she's literally told nobody about it in her life, which is understandable. It happens. But kind of Jeremy kind of keys into this. So I'm not saying everything about this, but basically this one was kind of tough for me. It literally took me all week to read it because I kept putting it down and just going to other things. So it was definitely not my favorite in the series so far, and I'm really nervous to read Landon's next because I don't really like Landon in any of the books. Jeremy kind of grew on me a little bit in the end, but there was a lot of stuff that just didn't work for me. I did love seeing Cecily's parents again because her parents are the ones from Black Knight, I think is the book, from the Royal Elite series, and that's Xander and Kim, and I was so moved by that romance. So I'd love seeing Xander, and you know, that's the thing, is if you read her backlist and you know the parent stories, it's a little bit, you feel more connected to it a little bit. So, didn't love it, didn't hate it, but it definitely was not my favorite. So I ended up giving this one 3.5 stars. There is a lot of trigger warnings, so I'm not even going to go into them, but there is like gunplay, blood play, breath play, you know, anal, rough sex, you know, kind of slight BDSM stuff going on. So, she does get, you know, there is the mention of the drugging, previous drugging, and she does get drugged again, not by Jeremy. But anyways, attempted assault, all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of stuff in this. It's definitely a dark romance. So anyways, I did give it 3.5 stars. And then I think I gave it 5 chilies because this one is spicy. There is a lot of sex, a lot of it in this. I just didn't fully connect to it because I was frustrated with the characters. So anyways, read that. Okay, then I listened to an audiobook. I'm kind of annoyed because I think I bought this one or used a credit on it, but I listened to The Oracle by Serena Akeroyd. This is the second part of a duet, and I'm really late getting back to it, but I didn't really love the Consigliere, which was the first one. So I didn't have a lot of high expectations going into this one, but I just didn't feel like reading it, so I got the audiobook. And so this is the 4th book in the Valentini series, second part of the duet for Hunter and Aurora. And this was a very like heavy BDSM one, which I like BDSM, but this one was where she loved pain, and it was just a little much for me, and I don't really like her character, and Hunter's just kind of meh to me. And I honestly, my biggest complaint about this is like, so this is in the mafia world. I love the Dawn and the Lady, which is Jen's romance with her brother, with Aurora's brother. And Aurora hates Jen, and Jen is like my girl. I fucking love Jen. She's one of my favorite Serena Akeroyd heroines, and I didn't think I would love her because I hated her previously, so that's why I love her even more. And so Aurora, like, through 2 books is like a bullying fucking bitch to Jen, and I'm just like, back off my woman. And Aurora is just like ruthless and supposed to be badass, and I just hate the over the top badass. I'm a mafia chick kind of thing, and so I just didn't love her character. So honestly, and I felt like this did not need to be a duet. It could have been one book. There was so much politics in this that I was kind of like checking out. At this point, Serena Akeroyd's world is like so big in this, the reading order, all the stuff that you have to do, that it's like kind of hard to keep track of everything that's going on, but it was okay. Like, there was some good sex stuff, but again, I'm not really into their sexual dynamic. I did appreciate that she was all in with Hunter in on this one and fully like want to be with him and all of that. I just couldn't connect to her character. So if I don't like a heroine that much, I'm not going to love the book. So I ended up giving this one 3.5 stars and then 3 chilies. Okay, so then I read Redeeming by Bella Matthews. I didn't get the arc for this one. I forgot to sign up for it way back. So I signed up for the arc that should be coming out in December. So I wanted to read this one and catch up. This is the second book in the Red Lips and White Lies series. This is the second generation. She's got a couple series going on a second generation. That's the thing that's hard with this is like I went in with the second generation. I didn't read the older books yet. And so there's a lot of like family tree, all this interconnected family. And I don't really know anything about the parents. And you kind of feel like you're supposed to reading this. But I have really enjoyed the second generation. And I've liked the found family in this and small town. It's sports. There's been like hockey. And now this is football. So I've been really enjoying it. So this one is between Callan and Caitlin. And this is a brother's best friend type of thing, but they were really close too. So Caitlin is actually the daughter to Sam, and I haven't read his book again, but he is a mafia Don type of guy, and so he's pretty protective. Her brother Maddox is set to be in that, you know, becoming the mafia too. But they're also like married into this like, you know, sports family where they're very much involved with like hockey and football franchises and all that kind of stuff. So she has been like friends with him forever, Callan, but she's been really into him since she was like a teenager. He was about 4 years older, so it wasn't really working out. Plus, like, he had a girlfriend at one point when she tried to hit on him, which was kind of fucked up of her, but he basically, like, now they've been living together for, I think, like 4 years. And so it's been really hard on him because he has been really interested in her. She thinks he only looks at her like a sister. He really doesn't. For 4 years, he's wanted her. They've been mutually pining after each other, but he promised her brother, you know how it is with brother's best friend. And so he stayed away from her. But he's going through a really tough time. Trigger warning for a parent with cancer in this. And so, like, things kind of happen with them, come to a head. They're living together. The brother's not there. And they finally have sex and get together. And so he immediately wants to tell the brother. And, you know, when he comes back into town. But things kind of fall apart because her father finds out. And he basically tells him to stay away for her safety. Her life's in danger. And he's too much of a public figure. Which that kind of seemed a little, like, weak to me, but I didn't care. Callan was such an amazing hero. He was so like into her, and so it was obviously things kind of fall apart with them, but we have an accidental pregnancy. So when he finds out about her pregnancy and stuff, he's like, all bets are off. And he wants her. So they kind of move in together and have a forced proximity. She's pretty upset about him ghosting her and ending things with her. So he has to do a pretty big grovel in this, but he does so many sweet things, and they finally like have good communication and talk through everything. And this had everything that I love in an accidental pregnancy, when it's like the guy 100% in. He's showing you he supports you throughout your entire pregnancy and the childbirth. There's another trigger warning in this because there is kind of like a complicated childbirth situation going on here that was very intense. And so just trigger warning for that. But I just love this. I think it's one of my favorites. I think he's one of my favorite Bella Matthews heroes. And so I loved it. So I ended up giving this one 5 stars and 3 chilies. Okay, so the last book that I read was Hail Mary. I've been meaning to get to this book forever. This is the final book in the Red Zone Rival series. I had ended up buying this 4-pack where it had all 4 audiobooks on Audible, like with 1 credit. So I don't know if it might still be available, I'm guessing. But so I had all 4 audiobooks of this. So this is between Leo and Mary, and we met Mary in the previous book because she was like the next door neighbor that like hated football players, hated Leo, but we didn't know why. And in the opening of this book, you find out why she hates Leo, and it's because when she was like, I think 15, she was, you know, a little bit overweight, you know, had bad acne, all that kind of stuff, but she was really into gaming, and she ends up building a connection with them. They meet and kind of connect over gaming, and he gets her number and they talk all the time, and they're like, and she ends up knowing who it is because his name is like Leo Hernandez or whatever, and it was like his football jersey number, and so she knew it was him, but he didn't know who she was. And so she was just really nervous because he's like the hot guy. He's a popular football player. But eventually she decides to kind of let him know who she is at school, and goes up with like, he knew she was an artist and that she was drawing things for him. And so things kind of go bad because she tries to show him her art at school and he didn't know who she was. But she thinks she knows who she was, and like basically disses her. The football players make fun of her. She gets bullied because of this. So she really like cut him out of her life, blocked him, and all that kind of stuff. And now her place is basically is falling apart. There's a big pipe leak, which leads to more issues. And so she has nowhere to go. She's basically she's not in school. She's not at the college or anything. She is working her ass off to apprenticeship to become a tattoo artist. And so she's been really working hard at that. And she doesn't want to go to her parents for help because they don't really believe in what she's doing 100%. So Leo ends up offering the room that is empty now from the quarterback, leaving and joining the NFL. And so she goes to stay there for the summer, and then he kind of extends it to after the summer when she still can't move in. So now she's kind of in a forced proximity with him, and she starts to see the Leo that she knew as a teen when they gamed, and that there was a lot more to him, and she's like really falling for him again. And so I really loved this. I loved it when like they actually communicate and he finds out who she really is, because he feels awful about what happens to her, and he's just so sweet, and I loved their connection. So I loved the gaming aspect of this. I love all the like side characters. You get to see all the couples from the series in this. So I really loved this one. So I ended up giving this one 5 stars and 3.5 chilies. So it was really good. The third act was kind of annoying, but it wasn't like too long or big of a deal. So I still gave it 5 stars because I just loved them. They had such a sweet connection and they were adorable together. It was kind of more of a slower burn than I was expecting, and I had a good time with it. So I definitely recommend the audiobooks. They're all very well done, and 5 stars. So those are all the books that I read this week, and thank you so much for watching this. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you're subscribing to my channel and hit that alert button so you see whenever I post any new videos. I'm hoping to get that Rina Kent vlog up and to you guys this week. Hope you guys have a good holiday and Thanksgiving. I'm excited to have a couple of days off, so I'm definitely ready for it. So anyways, thank you so much, and I will see you guys on the next one.